Yes. First question. When did music come into your life?
Wow, what a question. Well, at the early stage of my life,
Okay.
my parents, yeah, they put me on a piano at age of 3.
Mhm.
And then I resigned at 4 or 5, like 2 years after. It wasn't my thing at the time. I preferred to play Lego.
Mhm.
But it was until like I always like TV shows, melodic themes,
Okay.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I grew up with all Steven Spielberg movies and Star Wars, the early
Mhm.
movies, and it was at age of 9 when Batman came.
Yes.
The
Of
first one
course.
with Michael
Yeah.
Keaton,
Yeah. Of
Danny
course.
Elfman doing the score, and the thing was, I was too young to go to see to the theater.
Yeah.
So when we got it in videotape, like
Mhm.
1989, back in then, um, the problem was the only copy that was available at the moment, like that Friday night, it was in English, and I was 9 years old, and I wasn't able to understand quite
Yeah.
well all the dialogues. So my parents tried to translate it like real time,
Mhm.
but it was the score that captured me. I
Mhm.
was super touched by this music, which was incredible at the time.
Well,
And
it
then
still
I
is.
started to, yeah, I started to understand the movie because of the score, and I developed a lot of curiosity out of this experience to hear the role of the music
Yeah.
in all those movies. And I watched Back to the Future, Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
again all the Spielberg movies.
Yes.
Um, so during all my youth, I tried to no, I don't try. I collected a lot of movie soundtracks from
Nice.
Hollywood,
That's cool.
and yeah, that was the story behind it.
Okay.
So
That leads me to a question. What's your favorite like movie soundtrack of all time? Or just like
yeah, well, one of the most important was Batman,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
for that specific reason.
yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it so much time. I couldn't say right now if it's the best one for me, my favorite one. I don't know, but it
Yeah.
was certainly the most important one.
Because
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
discovered the like Batman music through Batman Lego, like the
Oh,
video
really?
games and things like that. So like it's kind of funny though because it's definitely like really different to the movie, but like it's still the same music, which is pretty cool. Um, so when did you like know that you could turn like music into a job?
Um, I took the risk. I would say like this.
Mm-hmm.
At 19.
19?
Yeah, yeah. I started to compose around 15, just by accident. Oh yeah, okay. So after this Batman thing,
Mm-hmm.
realizing that I really love the soundtracks and all this thing in high school, I was not in the harmony, but the music class, and when we were playing strange instruments like psalterion, and I don't know why
All right.
actually, but there was this ensemble at school, and we were playing movie themes. So that brought me back to the piano because
Mm-hmm.
when I came home after the school, I was just like picking up the themes and melodies just by ear
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and memory, and it started again. No, I started again the piano classes
Yeah.
around 12 or
All right.
13,
Yeah,
and then from then
I
yeah.
started at the same age, I think.
Oh yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I I tried between 3 and 5, let's say something like that, and then stopped, and then
Mm-hmm.
came to it
Yeah.
almost 10 years after it.
And one of the
And
funniest, like the best thing is really like to learn the favorite movies and gain like soundtracks on piano is really nice. You know?
yes, and at the time, I come from Drummondville, like a
Uh huh.
little village around
Yeah.
Drummondville. I wasn't in Montreal, having access to all those soundtracks easily, and it was really for me a thing coming to Montreal and buying a lot of CDs. So between those moments, I was just like recording on the videotape the end of the movie, the end
Okay.
credits, the
Yes.
movie where you have all the main themes
Yeah.
of the movie, and then I was picking up the melody.
Didn't
Uh,
that take you a lot of time?
well, yeah, it was a passion. Like
Yeah, yeah.
was a geek about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was super geeky about it.
Yeah.
And all my friends were listening to Nirvana and Guns N' Roses
Yeah.
at the time, and I was like, "Hey, the new movie like Edward Scissorhands from Danny Elfman
Mhm.
or Batman too." Um, and then John Williams and then Hans Zimmer in the '90s did some quite well scores, like
Yeah.
The Lion King, of course, but a lot of actions movie where that was my rock and roll thing.
So,
Uh,
so like lyrics don't really matter to you.
no, not that much. No,
Mm.
I'm much more sensitive about touched by the visual and the music and the
Mm.
link between the two of them. So to come back to your
Yeah.
question, um, around 15, I was playing something at the piano, and then I missed the chord,
Hmm.
and I felt more interesting that mistake. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
the relation with the previous chords I was playing, and then that new one, and
Hmm.
this brought me to exploring and starting to compose. But that was just a passion thing at the time, my
Hmm.
hobby. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I got some quite well scores at school, so it was possible for me to go in health and become a doctor or something.
Yeah.
And so I didn't question myself at that moment. But around like in the CJ, this
Mm.
is where I was confronting to okay, this is that thing, that music thing, the scoring and composing for maybe movies. This is the real thing. I
Mhm.
don't want to do. I don't want to become a doctor or
Yeah.
something. I didn't really question myself
But
before.
were your parents happy of your choice of career?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Actually, nowadays, yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
But
They're
then.
super happy. I'm happy.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, no, back then it was like challenging, super
Yeah.
challenging for
Because
them.
a big stereotype is like that artists, like, musicians don't make a lot of money and like can succeed.
Yeah, yeah, and especially like my father is a consultant for a businessman,
Okay.
and my mother was a teacher. So
Hmm.
for them, they love music, they love art. My mother studied in art, in fine art, but then she started to teach it and then teach to regular student after. But for them, it was super challenging, and actually for me too, because we didn't have any references of how
Yeah.
you did
And,
and
that's
what's
a
the
big thing.
lifestyle of it.
Yeah.
What
How do you succeed, like, being a musician?
well, we were talking about contacts earlier, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and the only one contacts I was super lucky. So back in 1999,
Hmm.
at yeah, I just um took the decision to okay, I dive into I let's not make a try. I just crashed all the other
Yeah.
exit doors. So that was my,
Hmm.
you know,
Your
I
only
decided
option.
that yes, this is
Yeah.
the only option. There's no
Uh,
plan B. Um, so it appears that an associate from my father knew a composer at the time in Montreal who did a lot of advertising his music,
okay.
little jingle spot
Yeah. Yeah.
on radio and television.
That's cool.
And yeah, and it appeared that this composer is Jean Robitaille, which is someone who did some movies and he has a son that do some TV and movies scores also.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to go to do an internship for a week
Hmm.
at age of 19, right before starting the music school officially, and being in Montreal for a week and just looking at watching him working and
Yeah. That's like,
asking a lot of questions to his son who was in the studio at the time too, and it was a great spot on Saint Laurent
it's
Boulevard.
formatting. You can, like, you learn a lot.
Yeah, I learned. Yeah, so much, so much. I did it with in the future, like few years after it. I did it with Michel Cusson also, Jean-Marie Benoit, Ben Charret, and every time it was super, super helpful. I
Mm.
mean, you're just there one day behind Michel Cusson and watching him working, and I mean, you learn the equivalent of a session, at the
Mhm.
university. It's so much powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And do you think you learn more, like better, like with example or with like notion, Like,
I learned by doing it.
okay.
A self-taught, not a self-taught because I went to school, but
Mm-hmm.
I really learned when I deep dive into something, and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah, again, I'm a little geek about like all this thing, and the more I can learn by myself, and the more I can experiment too. I
Mm-hmm.
need to experiment. Yeah.
So, what are the instruments you play, if you do?
Basically, it was the piano,
And
and then
now,
after it, yeah, I tried the guitar. It wasn't my thing, although I really love listening to it.
mm-hmm.
It's like violin. I probably the strings are my favorite instruments.
Yeah.
But I'm a pianist, and but I wasn't a good performer. I
Mm.
think I'm a better um, designer.
Okay,
I
but
would
being
say,
uh, being being a music composer, I feel like you have to play with a lot of instruments, right?
not that much. You need to create new concept of it, or
Okay.
you need to know how to express yourself in
Mm-hmm.
this
Okay.
vocabulary, which is music.
Yeah.
And it can be electronic music, it can be acoustic music, all of it. It can be a strange, weird sound you record on the field. It can be anything, and yeah, and so it brings me to ask the question of what is music at the end. But I think music is just telling a story
Mm-hmm.
with sound, and
An
it
emotion.
does. Exactly, from this story, of course, because we are vibrating humans.
Yeah.
Like most of us really vibrates with music. It's a mystery, still a mystery for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the audio part of the vibration is it's super efficient to
So,
bring back emotion.
um, do you mostly record or use like already built-in noise, or like, you know, you're more record like a live performance, or do you like do it like on a computer?
Yeah, I started on computer because I didn't know any
Mm-hmm.
musicians back in high school, and then I got some musician friends, and then it became a kind of a hybrid thing, which where my compositions were made out of the computer
Mm-hmm.
and or the piano. I just play some ideas, but the writing process for me is in within the computer,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think the most popular thing these
Yeah, yeah.
days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anyone who is still writing all
On.
his idea on paper,
Mm-hmm.
So well, yeah, recording and using, and depending on I try to not use that much.
Bank
Well,
noise.
no, yeah, not noise, but nowadays the samples, like that's a
Yeah.
word, sample. So if I want to, you want to know, like if I use a piano sound to reproduce a piano, yes, there are pretty much awesome
Mm-hmm.
samples right
Yeah.
now. When I started, those samples or synthesizers imitating those real instruments weren't good at all. So it was a mixture. Nowadays, most of the piano you listen at TV is all fake right now,
Mm-hmm.
because well, it's a real recording note by note of a real piano, and then you reproduce this with the
Yeah.
computer, which is like, okay, it's a real piano, but it's not the real performance out
Mm.
of that now.
Yeah, and it's not like it doesn't feel there's no emotion compared to actually playing it.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
super
I'm
well done right
yeah,
now, so it's quite,
but
yeah.
it's technical compared to like it's really technical compared to actually just playing it, right?
The thing is, you need to learn how to perform with
Mm,
those sounds
mm,
through the computer,
mm,
instead of I can play a string patch quite well, like well programmed, like
mm,
a lot of people won't see the difference between real strings and the programmed streams which were recorded note by notes these days. Yeah, in the last 5 or 10 years, it was exponential. The quality of it. Yeah.
Hmm. So, what is the game that you're the proudest of in all the games that you made the soundtracks of?
Well, for sure the two Outlasts.
Hmm.
Um, because it was the first one for two different reasons, but Outlast One and Outlast Two for sure, because
And
all of the
do you not
experiments.
count whistleblower? Do you not count that?
Yes, I can count it, but it was an
Yeah,
expansion pack
yeah.
of the first
But
one.
there's still a lot
Following.
of music, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I think I've done over 30 minutes of music for the Whistleblower, and it was kind of the kind of ending of the first Outlast. Um, but it was an extension of it. It
okay.
wasn't like a redefinition of it. It was an
Hmm.
extension.
And like, what's the max hours you put into a one like game in the composition of the soundtrack of one game? Like the
Yeah, I
most.
think Outlast 2, because when you, there are a lot of ways to deliver music
Mm,
for a game. You know, it's not like just doing a song, a
mm,
3 minute song or idea, or musical idea on a stereo file. You can do it, but you can send a lot of textures that the audio director and the other end of the company
mm,
will um, not edit but compile, or just to make the music
mm.
interactive. You need to integrate the music in the game, within the game.
Yeah.
So this part of it, you can send a lot of files. Yeah, I do remember for Outlast 2 it was more than 10 hours of deliveries.
Mm.
But out of those 10 hours, I don't know exactly how much, what is the amount of the total music at
Uh,
the end,
so
that they used, or
did you like were you involved in the game development, or did you do like only the music and then you sent it?
most of the time I think composers will just do the music.
Okay.
I got the real chance with the first Outlast because it wasn't it was 10
Small.
employee
Yeah.
company. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So every Friday we took a beer. I got a chance to be there at the beginning and see all this game growing and to be created at the on
Mm.
real time on a year and a half. And for me, that I learned a lot of about how a game is done, and those people were had been worked at Ubisoft before for
Yeah.
10 years. They've
Okay.
done all the AAA games from Ubisoft, and they've decided to create this little company just to do a different kind of game
Okay.
uh, that the bigger companies wouldn't
Be-
push,
yeah,
because it's
because it's experimental and
yes, and
and
like narrow
mm,
for the target people.
uh, which game was the most fun making? Like you had the most fun to make like make the sounds.
I'm hesitating between Outlast 1 and Outlast 2, because first Outlast 1 was a deal with an orchestra and a studio and
Mm-hmm.
a university, and was a lot of great timing, and I had the chance to experiment a lot with musicians, which
Mm-hmm.
I loved, and it was a dream for me to realizing a dream to record real musicians, orchestra, and not be just by myself in the studio. Outlast 2, we just finished this studio, and after talking about the guys at Red Barrels, we decided to not reuse the orchestra as the main instrument, but because of the context of the game,
Mm-hmm.
create a new. Um, the challenge was to create a score that was still cinematic, but not being made out of cinematic
Yeah,
orchestral cinematic
and not
classic.
not exactly the same as Outlast One.
Exactly, but you needed to feel that it was in the same
Yeah,
universe,
yeah, yeah.
but it wasn't the same vibe. So we I need to I needed to create a lot of different textures that were not electronic. Almost everything was
Mm.
acoustic, but it came from guitars, bass, and because of the
Yeah.
location of the story and the plot. Um, and then we created a lot of recording out of the studio here. We did, and so Sam, we
Mm.
were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah, and the guys, they at some point they were creating a lot of textures, and I was like, um, it was kind of teamwork.
Mm.
Like those guys were my assistants, and I tried with them to get sounds no one would ever haven't uh, heard before.
Yeah.
So
Which
out of
leads.
guitars and basses
Uh,
and really traditional and pop instruments, that was a challenge.
so what is the weirdest like or way of making a sound that like you made?
Okay, it wasn't whistleblower.
Uh huh.
We were in the studio for orchestral percussion at the moment with the sound designer of Outlast.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a table in the middle of the place. So we just removed the table, and by moving the table, we got this eerie sound that was, and we were like, oh shit! But you have to put in mind, like, we're in a recording room, so
Yeah.
the acoustic is great, and it resonates well, And I was looking at the engineer, just record this, and we were for 15 minutes just moving the table and the floor to get the more pitched
Yeah. Yeah.
sound, so I could then reuse it by my with my samples and make some melodies out of it. So
So
that was a quite interesting surprise.
do you like auto tune your like did you auto tune that or in a way?
No,
Okay.
no, because for a game like this, I mean, if it was used for a pop song, I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
I would have, but no, that was the beauty of this thing. There was no real tempo map. There was no like fixed tempo. There
Mm.
was no fixed pitch to be. So the more strange and weird and obviously non-comfortable sound we could
Mm.
get out of it, it would be useful. So no, I didn't use it.
All right. If you want to take a break, you can always say it. Do you want to
That
take a
I'm
break?
fine. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah,
For now, all right.
yeah,
All right. Did you ever get scared by your own music?
yes. Um, in in the first Outlast, um, you have to put in mind, like, I've listened in loop
Hmm.
during a year all this stuff, and
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
end, what I kept was the one that I still maybe not be afraid of, but
yeah. It makes.
certainly the feeling of being uncomfortable with it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I knew that, okay, if after some months of listening to them, I still feel strange about it, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Then it passed the test,
Mm-hmm.
That was a way to filter the good and the bad ideas. If after some weeks or month I was comfortable, so I was like, okay, this is enough scary to keep it.
Mm. So yeah, okay. So it did it like haunt you the music like
If I untune it, no.
no, 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 did you feel like it was like haunted or
Oh yeah, haunted. Yeah, that was the main goal.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of creating something.
All right.
Like, yeah, we can talk about this symbol and the bow.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's the right moment.
So how did you come up like to taking a bow and like doing it on what was it a symbol,
A
right?
symbol, yeah, a
Yeah.
classical symbol. Yeah, it's a pretty like common
Mm-hmm.
technique in modern music. If you study modern compositions and at the university, you get used to all those techniques that were developed or pushed
Mm-hmm.
the 28th century. Um, but yeah, I hired this percussionist Um, and after like 2 hours of recording different kind of sound out of percussion, we tried this, and you know, the interesting thing about Outlast One was every moment I was like, okay, because I had a checklist, you know, I have
Mm-hmm.
a list
Yeah.
of ideas to do, and after, and every time, every moment, I was checking all my items on
Mm-hmm.
my list. I was like, can we do another experiment? That's not on my list, but we still have a bit of time, so let's have another 5 minutes of recording, and we'll see. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I did it, we were
Yeah.
surprised by something new. So the thing of using a bow on a cymbal was pretty common in contemporary music, but the thing I didn't expect was to get out of a scream sound out of it, which was really, oh, excuse me, there's someone. Hello, Sean. Salut. Um, so the thing when we got this sound,
Mm-hmm.
it was like a revelation, and there was kind of a format. The format is a type of harmonic. We like when we were talking, we're formatting. It's a
Mm-hmm.
filter the sound the way like how we recognize a human voice compared to I don't know, a monkey song.
Yeah.
It's the format. It's the way
Mm-hmm.
like the harmonics are developed and filtered, and this is the human. So I don't know why this specific recording, and it's 15 seconds. It's 15 seconds of vibrating, and it was still pushing it, and then we get this kind of
Yeah.
for 15 seconds. And we recorded like maybe 30 minutes of different scratches sounds and things like this, and when I got it I was like, oh my god, this. So instead of tuning it, I just picked it up the notes, so it was like a B, a D, between a D and a B, around C, but it wasn't C because of the harmonics were weird, so I knew that if I composed in C, that sound would be always out of tune,
Mm-hmm.
but still close, you know.
Yeah.
And I started to um, um, show this sound to the so the strings player and the brass players after it, and I asked them to reproduce the best they could
Yeah.
with their instrument this sound. But that was the
Uh,
genesis, yeah, the DNA of the tension came out of this first thing. And the moment I recorded it, I sent it to Red Barrel's team, and they were like, "Oh my god, what's this?" And I don't know, I don't. I know it's harmonics out of a cymbal boat.
mm.
That's it. But
And
that was interesting to compose around it. So this was the idea. The first
so did you ever have like a really big challenge you had to overcome during like the making of a game?
big challenge is well, yeah. The first challenge was to create something new.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, the for the first Outlast, it was to work for the first time with an orchestra. For me,
Mm-hmm.
that was a challenge. Within a time zone, I wanted to prove myself. I would produce, compose, produce, record everything within a month for more than 30 minutes of orchestral stuff, which I did at the time. So that was a personal challenge, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but again, it was a super naive process, the first Outlast, because it was my first game. I didn't expect it to have a video game composer career at all. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't pushing in
So
that
you didn't
direction.
know where you were going. Okay.
I knew one thing. I knew I wanted some melodic elements. Melodic, I mean more
Yeah.
structure, harmonically compositions. Uh, Even if it's super contemporary. I mean, we did end of March. The game was released in September, so end of March I was recording a huge chamber string orchestra, so a
Mm.
medium size, not a full 40 strings, but around 25, I think, from memory. It's 8 years ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
because the main instrument is in Outlast is basically violin. Like,
yeah, we have some brasses, we have some electronic stuff, a lot of percussions, samples that were tweaked and adjust through the strings. But yeah, the main melodic instruments are strings because of that recording.
mm,
So I knew at the end of the month of March I had my main themes, and at least this would be a part of the scores. And the other part of the scores is all the scare drums, the scary moment, the eerie sounds, the more sound design elements that came. And the first important one was this symbol
mm.
uh, that we recorded with the bow.
And what were your influences like in the making of Outlast?
Pretty much a lot of contemporary composers that were used in movies like Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah, the main influences were Bernard Herrmann, the composer who worked with Alfred Hitchcock,
yeah.
and you can listen to it like the untitles. It's my homage to Psycho
Mm-hmm.
theme. You know, like I knew that I wanted to compose in this genre, and
So
all the more contemporary stuff came out of movies like Shining.
did you watch a lot of horror movies to
Not
get?
that much. No, the great no, it's not the great thing. The weird thing is, Red Barrel asked me if I was a horror movie
Mm-hmm.
fan. I was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't like that much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, okay, are you a gamer? And no, not either. But we connected because the guy studied in cinema
Mm-hmm.
at the university before becoming the video game programmer and game developer and game artist they become.
Mm-hmm.
The-
All right. So let me just prepare that question. What was it hard to switch? Wait 2 seconds. I don't think you'll hear it though. Was it hard to switch from the music of Outlast? I'm making it like listening to the stream. I don't know if you can hear it. Probably not.
no,
Okay. Like was it? Well, basically, there's a lot of violin, and it's really stressful. To this, which is the Tiny Brains music.
the tiny brains. No, in fact, yeah, I did before the video game thing. I did a lot of TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
magazine, documentaries, movies, and as a composer making a living out of the music in Montreal, you
Mm-hmm.
need to be the more versatile that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was used to switch from a project. So during years, for 6 years, I think I was on a TV kids TV show called Kaboom at the
Yeah. Okay.
time,
Mm-hmm.
which was like a superhero little thing at Télé Québec, and surrounding all this TV shows, I did a lot of different commercials, other TV themes, and that were super different than Kaboom.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the case of Outlast and Tiny Brains, it was like these two games were the opposite. So it was a relief for me to coming from Outlast after a weekend of recording tensions and scary
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
things. Yeah, on the Monday morning doing a silly, crazy, melodic, electronic,
Mm-hmm.
weird thing, which was it was a relief. And then after this comic and silly thing, it was super interesting to go back to what I recorded the weekend and then
Mm-hmm.
working on it for 2 days and diving it.
But it didn't like make you lose like track. You know?
No,
No.
no, it was more like
A break.
giving me the break and having a distance from
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what I've recorded during the weekend, let's say, and then a few days after it, I was listening to it
Mm-hmm.
back, and then okay, I like this and I don't like this, and I keep it, and oh, this gives me an idea, and
Mm-hmm.
then
So
going back to Tiny Brains again.
So I think we can agree that starting screen really needs to have a strong music because it's kind of like the first impression that you have of the game, right?
Yeah, yeah. The main menu
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the key to making like a good starting screen?
It was super fluid in this case. That string session we recorded end of March.
Mm-hmm.
I had the main themes, like the main elements out of it, and we listened to it with the Red Barrels team, and they were like, "Oh, I could see this, and let's try it and put it in the game there." And
Mm-hmm.
then so it was super. It wasn't like all conceptually created in advance. It was super like at day to day, just let's try this. And as I said, we kept what worked the best at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like this kind of process.
Uh,
Instead of like making a strong and rigid plan at the beginning and then you're stuck to it, you need to liberate yourself in the creativity, and this is the part of it. So
all right.
for the main menu, I felt at the end of the process that this thing is uh, putting the right mood without revealing
Yeah,
anything,
yeah.
and it's just like creating an ambience with this melody that will come back and back and back, like come often in the game. And I really like the first musical idea you have when you're in the taxi ride at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and the same music comes at the really end of the game, so it's like looping, doing the full cycle of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the main menu, I was just feeling that this team was like resuming all the game
Without spoiling.
without exactly
Yeah.
saying too much. Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna switch to the next segment, more like video games oriented. Do you want to take a break, like maybe a quick 2 minute break or something?
We can do it. Yeah,
All
no
right.
problem.
So yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna run an ad quickly, and you can. Yep. Parfait. J'ai lancé la publicité. C'est bon. Juste.
Bon, je vais peut-être en profiter d'abord pour aller à la salle de bain. Moi, 2-3 minutes, c'est bon?
Ouais.
Ok, parfait. Je reviens. Ce sera pas long.
All right. What's up, chat? Kaboom is legit insane. True, it is. It's really insane. Let me... Yeah, that's better. All right. What's up? Hello, welcome back. How's everyone doing, guys? It's pretty nice, pretty cool. Still have like a little 10 questions, something like that, Pretty cool, chill. All right. Um, okay. Everything is good. So, Sam, what's up? TSM. Carton. Should I change? No, staying in Outlast is good. I think. All right. You know, I woke up at 10:30 in the morning, dude. So early, man. Dude, that's weird. Hello,
Hello.
welcome back. So to start the next segment, the first question is: Are you a gamer?
I was. I don't play anymore, except we did a lot of in the last few years, a lot of Nintendo 64
Mm-hmm.
Mario Tennis.
Mm-hmm.
It was our little party game. Um, yeah, when I'm working on a game, I have to go to see the game and
Yeah.
obviously and play with it a bit. But no, I mean I get out of the studio and I try to be outside and doing something else than being in front of a screen as much
Mm-hmm.
as possible. But when I was young, teenager, I was like a hardcore Mortal Kombat and also Mario Kart. These were the games I played hours and hours. I loved Zelda, the old
Yeah,
Zelda on Super
Zelda
Nintendo.
is
Yeah,
insane.
Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, and
Ocarina of
yeah,
Time.
yeah,
Yeah,
on the Super Nintendo. Yeah,
yeah. And uh, have you completed like your games? Did you ever like play them? Like,
yeah. I need to yeah, I need to play it when I'm doing it. After
mm,
it, like I pass to another project.
mm,
Um, yeah, either play it or watch it, but I at least I know like all the details of the game when I'm
mm,
doing it to be sure
okay.
I'm not missing something narratively.
So
Yeah.
you never like fully played one of your games.
No, but if the no, not by myself.
Mm,
But either I play with the game director or game developer, or at the final stages of the process of creating Outlast 2, they sent us the game here in the studio, and one night we just shut down all the lights, and we were afraid. Like, I mean, it was so efficient
mm,
because that was the point where we had maybe 2 months. It was 2 months or 3 months before the release of it.
mm.
Yeah, 3 months before, end of January, and it was released, I think, end of April 2017. Um, so yeah, it was still the time to add or remove music or choose better music or
Mm.
fix things. Uh, but we were yeah really experiencing like badly
Yeah.
in a good way. Um, yeah, the whole game. Yeah, yeah,
And so you worked with Red Barrels, Ubisoft, and other companies.
yeah.
And can you say which company was the funniest to work with? Like,
Funniest to work. All of it, all of them, but differently. I mean, funniest
what?
again, maybe Red Barrels because
It
on
was
the
a
first
small.
Outlast, yeah, yeah, and funniest. I mean, not like yeah, we had a lot of fun
Mm,
having this beer every Friday end of afternoon watching all the new levels of the game and the game being that was super fun. uh, I don't think this could be even possible right now because it was like I said super naive.
mm-hmm.
I think from all of us it was, and even the audio director from Game on Audio at the moment, we were experiencing our first video game,
Mm-hmm.
so It was super fun. That because it was the first time, I think, because it was like virgin in a way, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
We could there was no pressure about it. Um, like when we did Outlast 2, it was important to reach the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a fun pressure. It was super fun to do, but more in my studio with the assistants here than with the Red Barrels team. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to prove them that every ideas I pushed was scarier, stronger, better than
Yeah.
the first idea I
So you were
came with.
competing against yourself.
Yeah, that and all of us. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, them too. They were trying to do Outlast 2 better than the first one. You know, we were all doing this,
Mm-hmm.
so it was super fun because it was this challenge. But it wasn't the we didn't have this naive part anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We no nobody expected the success of the first Outlast. Um, if I remember well, I think Red Barrels were competitors from what was there was a horror game that was a reference on stream at the time. I have a blank.
It's all right. So did you prefer making music for TV shows, movies, or games?
I prefer move. I prefer doing music with people I love doing music.
Okay. Yeah,
Whatsoever
yeah.
the media at the end. I do love doing music with
No,
my
but
friends at Pasego with for TVs, let's say, because every project is different and
mhm.
we are developing this strong relationship. When I've done the Outlast 1 and 2, uh, both projects were a lot of fun because I love doing music for these guys
Mhm.
and with it's so if I'm doing I've done some really really great project that either have been canned or people change and direction change and it's not the best experience to do even if it's a triple E,
Mhm.
score if there's something political behind it,
Mhm.
it's not
It's not
it's not
good.
fun at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
So I don't mind doing um horror music or comedy or something if I know that the people I'm working with we have fun together
Yeah.
and we can create something new at each time and like with Pasego for instance every project it's like okay we've done this before what's going like
What's next?
what's next for this one and
And
this kind of relationship instead of pitching and throwing ideas and and selling myself in a political way so this is what I love
so the
you know
does making like music for movies and games is different or
Technically yes.
mm,
At the end of the day I still think I would use a quote from John Williams. He was at the university once and he's giving this master class in front of
mm,
students. The
yeah.
students come after it and I ask him like what's the secret of being a great film composer,
Mm,
and his answer is try to reach the secret of being a great composer.
mm, mm,
Because at the end it's only music.
mm,
Yes, technically music has to be integrated well in a game, it's interactive, but the process of finding the right tone, the right picking up the right instruments, the right arrangement, the right melodies, this is all music.
mm,
And even if you have to cut a quarter of a bar to because of the scene, the edit of the movie, or you have to create a new way of integrating it in a video game in an interactive way. It's just like a little challenge. It
mm,
spices, on the whole process of creating music. But basically, I would say 95% of it is music.
mm.
So,
And so what is your favorite game of all time, like video game?
oh my God, yeah, probably Mortal Kombat 2. Yeah, this is the one I played the most when
Mm,
I was a
yeah.
teenager. Yeah,
And you know, like playing the games that you like, to me, it's Ocarina of Time, Zelda Ocarina of Time. But like when I play it now, it's not the same because it like breaks the nostalgia.
yeah. And I do understand. Yeah, I wouldn't love to play Mortal Kombat anymore because it's
Mm,
part of
mm,
my youth. You know, um, I had great time playing with my brother at Max Payne, the first one.
mm,
It was amazing at the moment, and the third Grand Theft Auto 3.
mm,
That was the moment in video games where technology allowed developers to, every games every years there was like a chase, not a chase, but yeah, kind of a chase of using the new technology to develop new kind of game.
mm.
I feel,
Like
I mean,
cars.
yeah, like colors. I mean, yeah, when you step from 8 bits to 16 bits and then 64 bits, it's amazing the amount within 10 years.
Mm,
We don't have this kind of change, I think, technologically wise these days, because I think technology is way over, like, what we I mean, it's not like, okay, doing music on a 8-bit Nintendo systems is quite a challenge.
mm,
So how do you creatively use your talent to express the best way yourself within this restraint,
mm,
um, these guys are genius creating my brothers and these for Zelda and
mm.
within this amount of technology. And so it was super, as a gamer at the time, like, um, we were so much curious about, like, oh, this new console has this new technology, and then there are these new games. What else is still like this? But once you have a first real world experience, open world experience, I
Mm,
would say, like Grand Theft Auto 3, it's a game changer.
mm.
Yeah,
It,
at the
it
moment
is.
it was like, wow, okay, nobody's seen it.
Mm,
Then after it, if you have a bigger and a bigger and a bigger open world, it's still an open world. But the first time you experience it, it's really
yeah.
exciting. It's so much exciting. Yeah,
And it always like it goes further and further, like
yeah,
years and
yeah.
years.
But I don't feel like
It's not as
people
big.
or reinventing the genre
Yeah,
of video game so far.
yeah, because
It coming back, yeah,
there's
to
not a lot of difference. You know, of course the graphics are better now, but if you go 5 years before, like it won't really change compared to like 8 bits games and things like that.
exactly, yeah. And we're talking like, I, uh, I think the Super Nintendo came in 1992, if my memory is good. So imagine I was in sixth grade, and then go back to high school, and
Mm-hmm.
it changed. In a year, it was outstanding, the change of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 years after it, not 10 years, 3 years, the first PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
and this came like amazing idea, possibilities. So yeah, and then the Nintendo 64, and after it, the first Microsoft
Yeah.
console, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a super time
So
for.
like now, would you be more of a console player or a PC player if
I
you were to
ended,
play?
yeah, probably PC player.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Now, okay, if I was a teenager again now, I would be a PC
Mm-hmm. Okay.
gamer. Yeah. Now, because I'm 40, I would be a console
Yeah.
gamer, because my geekness
Uh,
goes into the studio
mm,
right now. So I wouldn't be like so geek and about all this, the process of getting the best machine. But of course, as a teenager, I would be a PC gamer.
mm. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We're gonna switch to the more like the questions more like toward reality and you know. All right. So what type of music do you listen to now?
A lot of Berlin electronic music.
All
This is
right.
my new passion. I'm not listening to film score anymore and video game score. I have enough of it in my job, in my daily job.
Mm,
My new passion is like those DJs and electronic producers from Berlin, mostly Berlin. I don't know why.
mm,
uh, Stefan Bodzin, Ben Lucas Boysen, Hannes Bigger. Not a lot of they're not known here,
Hmm.
but these guys, I love the music they're doing. Yeah.
Nice. So, so do you think like the music that you listen to is like you get inspired into like transforming it into the like the game that you're working on?
Yes, I mean, I have to compose something that fits for
Yeah.
every project, which is every project is different than another.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the main idea is to create something unique for each project.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, I set different kind of tones and melodies for, yeah, depending on
Mm-hmm.
the project. Yeah. It,
Next question would be: have you ever thought about making songs to publish on iTunes, like personally, not for a company or
not songs. Maybe, yeah, maybe with singers. I don't sing,
not?
so I don't sing and I don't write lyrics.
Mm,
First of all, but yeah, I wouldn't.
but like
Uh,
lyricless song.
yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
this time, this COVID time right now allows me to, over the years when downtime periods, there wasn't a lot of it, but there was
Mm,
some, and at the some downtime periods, I just wrote for myself some music. I wanted to when I discovered the modular synth
mm,
behind me, this new passion. This is my new video game.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote for fun some ideas, and then I don't know actually what's going on next,
Mm,
but I do know that yeah, someday I will publish it for sure. I don't
all
know
right.
when, but yeah.
And so, how do you live with like COVID right now?
Mostly in my house, in my studio for some weeks. The first month I was in my house, I wasn't sure if there would be a total lockdown,
Yeah.
a legal lockdowns. So nobody like in Europe, nobody would could go out at that
Yeah.
moment. So I just brought my studio, a little studio,
Mm,
my laptop, some interface, and some few synths in my house, in case where we would be locked down.
mm,
But after some weeks, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to go back at the studio and have having the
yeah.
right
The
amount of
full. Yeah.
stuff and the full, yeah, equipped studio. But I feel it's a quite interesting time. It's unique. I mean, hopefully, I hope every people in your
Yeah.
family are
Yeah.
healthy.
Mm,
Yeah, good. And I've been super lucky because my family is good. And
mm,
but except the disease, I think it's in a super interesting period of
yeah.
time where we can just stop,
And
watch ourselves, and
and I think that it's like for us teenagers, it's kind of a way of exploring like our passions that we never had time to do, or just like more artistic things, or things that aren't really related to class and things like that.
yeah, totally, yeah. I think yeah, I would have loved to to have this kind of moment
Hmm.
when I was a teenager.
But
Uh,
still, it's
yeah,
it's
I,
gonna it's not really good for education though.
I don't think so. I think it's super good for this kind of education, which is in
Yeah.
school. Um, I know I don't always believe in school. As I said, I need to experiment by myself.
Hmm.
Practicing piano is one thing, but when I'm exploring ideas on the piano, it's not practicing, but it's practicing at composing.
Hmm.
If if you see what I mean,
Hmm.
um, and I think this is super important. And the most of the time, we don't have to question ourselves
Hmm.
about if I had that much of time. A lot of people just watch TV shows and they just do this, but I question a lot about my lifestyle and the way I use things,
Hmm.
the way I buy things, the way I think about life in general. And having all this time is super precious at
Hmm.
my age, and maybe this is the middle age crisis. I don't know. This is the way I do it. I live
Mhm.
it, which is cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I just it brings me to the basic of what's important, and
it opens our
maybe
mind.
yeah, and it's a precious time for me to just connect again with this passion of music
Mhm.
in a different way. Um, and I deep dive into like those Berlin
Yeah.
artists, electronic music artists, which maybe I wouldn't have time if I would still continuing producing for others.
But I feel like with the crisis, it kind of made like a bigger like a separation between the virtual world and the real world. Like there's more things. Like it's getting better in the virtual world, like in organization, while in the meantime, there's definitely more people that go outside now. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like maybe maybe in the first week we're all on those devices, and watch the TV shows, but after a while you're realizing, yeah, what's the true life is. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Because it's kind of like we went back in time to the days like when people had nothing to do, so they went outside.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of being
Yeah, in our
captured, but
house.
yeah,
Exactly.
totally interesting. Yeah, I was born in a small period of time. Like I've read it once. You know, uh, Generation X and then
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
millennials. Um, and in 1980, it's a small amount of times there is this kind of Gen X, not Gen X, sorry, between Gen X and millennials. It's Xennial, I think.
Okay.
X Xennial. Well, and it's this period of time of the first trilogy of Star Wars, so between 77 and 83,
Mm.
and the difference between like me and I have like this studio, and I have a friend here. He has his room. James, he is 48, so we have 8 years. He's Generation X, and
Mm.
then we have the younger people here which are clearly millennials. They were born in the 90s.
Mm.
And the interesting thing is I'm connecting to both of them, and they are 20 years difference. But they don't understand each other because
Mm.
James started his music thing in real studios as an assistant, on tapes and real synthesizers. And I understand it because when I was super young,
Yeah.
my childhood was in analog world,
Mm.
but my teenage like yeah my teenagehood, I don't know
Yeah.
if yeah was in the digital world, and I
Mm.
had this computer at
So you're
age
the
of
link
30.
between the two.
Exactly, so that this is this weird period of time where so it reminds me a lot of my childhood where we were analogic,
Mm.
real analog, and getting like going to play outside and
Mm.
but we have the both world, but there's this connection with the real world, yeah, which is super interesting.
And approximately how much have you paid like in music equipment?
I don't know. Over the time, I
Because
don't
I
know.
feel like the synthesizers and everything.
Thousand, yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I don't know exactly.
Shit,
No,
that's
yeah,
insane. But I guess since it's like it doesn't feel like it's going like in the void, like it matters, right?
no, it's my passion. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it matters a lot. Yeah, every like those synthesizers are super expensive, uh, but I understand why I'm buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think I have enough right now. I can play with it and I can produce a lot of things. But there are a lot of, you can always buy things. Oh, I don't have this kind of mic,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, if I had more money, I would have bigger speakers. But my speakers are amazing right now. Or I just love this company, PMC. They do like speakers that were it's crazy expensive, like two. I think it's $200,000. Yeah,
Shit. What?
a pair.
Uh,
But it might sounds amazing. I know, so it's endless.
mm-hmm.
This is a passion. I
And
mean, yeah,
on Instagram it says you have a passion for architecture and design.
Yeah, yeah. My uncle, my grandfather is no godfather, sorry, is an architect. So since I
Okay.
was young, I was super inspired by, and I love to create, with Lego and
Hmm.
toys like this when I was super young. So the creativity aspect of it
So
always.
how do you stimulate it now?
Um, it's a passion. I mean, especially like with Instagram and all
Mm.
those things. Nowadays, it's super easy. When I
So
was young, I had a lot of magazines and books about it. Now it's just almost a trend.
mhm.
It's super easy to just follow some architect and designer.
So it's
And
kind of close to photography though.
yeah, I love photography too.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. But I love the way the architecture, and it's weird because the music, I'm selling
Yeah.
air.
But it's
Definitely. I mean,
yeah.
it's just it's a bit of vibration
Hmm.
stuck somewhere in a computer or now clouds, and it's crazy like to make a living out of selling air and giving experience people experience about it
Hmm.
emotionally. But the thing about the architecture and the design is like it's real.
Hmm.
It's a real object. You don't see it right now. But I have a desk
Hmm.
which have designed with the wood, uh, the guy who designed and built it,
Hmm.
and it was a pleasure for me to do it because I use this object every day,
Hmm.
and there's this piano incorporated in it, and my gear, and all my studio was I designed it based on Scandinavian, influenced by Scandinavian architect,
Hmm.
which I love. Uh, and maybe it's my godfather because he was an architect for huge company, architect in Vancouver when I was young. So just because he was living there, uh, and it was around the Expo 1986. So for me, it looked like the future at the
Yeah.
time, and it was super inspiring as a boy, as a child, to imagine my future within those um, buildings, objects. It was super, yeah, influential for me and inspiring.
All right. So we're gonna switch to the last part. So basically, I'm gonna say statements, and you say agree or disagree to these
Oh yeah, okay,
statements.
cool. Yeah,
All right. So you create better in suffering.
disagree.
Disagree, because what are you more like?
I create better when I have time.
Okay,
Time
because
to think about it, time to breathe about it, time
okay.
to I can just walk between my house and here and
Mm,
have an idea.
mm,
Um, by suffering, you mean like delivering for
yeah.
yesterday and no hyper tight deadline. No, I mean it's like rushing you into something. It can work, but I know it's not the best way
Or
I do it.
just in suffering, I would also mean like if you're like not depressed, but like more morally down or something.
No,
No.
no, it's yeah. Sometimes you're emotionally intense,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think my best ideas came out of it. My
Okay.
best idea came from I don't know where, in the less expecting moment,
Mm-hmm.
and probably the less prepared moment. Like again, I'm just walking, and then oh, that could be great. It might be some few notes of a melody. It might be an idea of exploring something with an instrument. I don't know where. It's just instinct. It's it's always after it. I know it's a cliche, but then you work,
Mm-hmm.
and the more you work, the more I mean, me. I don't know. Maybe Mozart was probably a genius and different,
Mm-hmm.
but I need to work to deep dive into something, and then at some point it's exactly the way I started to compose. I was practicing my piano and then did this mistake, and then I preferred those two chords. That was a mistake at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but then I started to explore more and dive into those exploration, and it brought me to an unexpected
S-
place,
s-
and this is the most fun. This is the yeah. the most fun moments I had creating.
Do you have more of a like structural mind, or you just like live by the day?
I have to have both. I think I have both.
Mm.
Quite well balanced about it. I
But
have a
let's say you're
structured
going
mind.
into what's the name? A vacation. Like,
Both. Yeah,
okay.
both. Yeah, like we went in Italy. Okay, no, yeah, vacation. I will organize it with my wife, and then there we'll allow ourselves to have free moments or
Mm.
to get some unexpected moment to happen.
Mm.
So it's kind of this is the way I love to like okay, I'm structured, I have this studio, this rig here, but I do know that I need to create accidents at
Mm.
some point, or at least create um, a moment in time or in space that allow me to create those accidents. Let's
Okay.
say, okay, we're organizing this trip in Italy. We know that every 2 days we're switching from hotels to hotels, but we have at least one days that we don't plan anything
Mm.
be- between those 2 days. So every 2 days we have a planned day. So we leave from that place, we take the car and go there, and we are planned that this is the great hotel that we want to experiment. But between there, so once there, if we love the hotel and want to stay at the hotel and do
Yeah.
nothing else, all good. If we want to explore the area around, we can do it. So my life is based on this. But the most interesting experience I had the chance to go to went to two um, creative sessions surrounded by the most amazing musicians in the planet, or some of the most.
Mm.
And then I was there in a kind of a super luxury um, resort,
Mm.
and just be surrounded by those musicians and create. And during 2 weeks, you lost. I lost the map. I lost the idea of time. The idea, I mean, 24 hours. I was just thinking of creating,
Mm.
and I didn't thought of preparing my like going to at least not even. I mean, in my life, most of the time I go to the restaurants. My normal life, and one
Mm.
of the great things I love about the COVID. So we started again to just eat at house and doing our own food, and but then it's not even thinking at which restaurant you're going. It's taking just only thinking of creating music
Mm.
or being in the present,
Yeah.
being in this moment. And if something happens, amazing. If doesn't something, if nothing happened, amazing too,
Mm.
because you're surrounded by beauty and
Yeah.
everything. It was once in Hawaii and once another time in French Polynesia. Um, and I created something super unexpected.
So
Uh,
next statement.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, sorry.
no, no problem. So you produce more when you are alone.
I think so.
So you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
I think I agree too, honestly, because like it feels like you're more focused. But I was wondering for you because uh, I guess like you have a lot of recording and like making soundtracks with guitars and things that you don't personally play.
Yeah, I learned to work in a team. I
Mm.
think I'm a kind of my roots are introvert.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think so. I developed some social skills because my father brought me, like as a teenager, brought me in the 5 to 7s, events and the business in his business world,
Mm-hmm.
just to learn about like socializing with
Mm-hmm.
business wise, but it's not I'm a lonely creator. I mean,
Yeah.
I have guys, friends around me. I just have to open the door, and
Mm-hmm.
there are people here. I'm not just alone in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still in the Milan. It's not like being alone, but I need to be alone to produce and yeah, focus. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned to work with people, to be more efficient with the deadlines, to have assistants, to be organized. I learned all those things, but it's not creating. It's not like I'm more efficient when I'm alone. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So making game soundtracks is harder than making popular songs.
Don't agree at all.
You don't agree? Soundtracks is easier to popular songs.
It's so. I mean, I can do some silly music for video game. I can do silly music for popular songs.
Mm.
Um, One can do. I tried to. If I had to do a popular songs, I think it's harder. Maybe harder. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't do it. But
Mm.
no, I think as I said at the end, it's like how you do you approach the process
Yeah.
of creating music. And if I need to, I have to work with a singer, pop singer. I need to study. Like let's say I have to work with an artist,
Mm.
female, male. I don't care. Um, I would study his her world, artistic world, for who I'm writing. If I need to write for myself, it's different.
Mm.
But it's still the same gig that if I produce a song for an artist or a video game team.
Because when I tried like to do some things on Logic Pro, because there's a saying that like pop songs and everything are like five chords, and it's
Yeah,
literally.
yeah. Well, you can be super stupid about it, and you can be super technical and super wise about doing it.
Mm.
It's I mean there are artists like Radiohead. These my like I love what they're doing, and I'm
Mm.
pretty sure it's quite maybe for them it's stupid, but not for me.
Mm.
And I feel it might be the same process of being in the zone in the moment
Mm.
and in the same in great vibe you need to be to create something. I'm not sure if I'm clear right now, but
Yeah, but I,
yeah,
I I get it.
it yeah, it's technically different approach for
Mm.
sure. And yes, you need to know the knowledge of integration, music integration in a game.
Mm.
And let's say you need to do an electronic scores. I know that Mouse did some scores when he was in the 20s for video game, but
Mm.
his music is still the same.
Mm.
It was electronic music and its own world. Um, do you know Olafur Arnald or Niels Frans? They're
No.
Icelandic composer and Germanic composer. They did music for concerts, for film, for I mean, it's still their tone,
Mm.
as
Yeah, yeah.
because they're artists. I'm more like a generic um, designer or architect, if you will.
Mm.
This is why what I loved about my work is like every project is different, so I'm not like repeating
Yeah.
myself every moment. Yeah, yeah.
So next statement: most artists can succeed. Like, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't agree because I I think you need. I don't think most artists work the same.
Yeah.
It's not just about working hard. It's about working hard, being super talented, super lucky. The timing in life is so important.
And
Uh,
having drive. Like.
Having drive, well, I don't know if Tom York have drive or not, but you feel like more depressed.
Mhm.
But no, I think it's about like being connected with you.
Mm.
Maybe this is what you mean by drive.
Yeah.
As Quebecois, we're like, I have a lot of
Yeah.
energy and drive, and well, yeah, but this might be a lot of, it might be super shallow.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I feel, I don't know, I don't feel every. It's like it's exactly like saying, do you feel every politician will become president?
Mm. Yeah, I get it.
No, absolutely not.
Mm. Yeah, because I think, but in my mind, I feel like, I'm doing things on Twitch right now, and I feel like I want to get further, and I don't I don't see like, oh, right where I am is where I want to be. You know, I always want to get further and be
Yeah,
better.
the I think for me the important thing is following what drives you,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I think your drive will uh, shine through it.
Hmm.
No, or not your drive, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We often talk about passion and things like this, but I think like what's important if you're an artist, I believe one can success. I believe one can success. I think if you mention it this way, I would have seen like, but what is success at the end?
yeah.
Sometimes I feel
That's a
like
personal thing, I think.
exactly most of the time I feel I haven't success.
Hmm.
I just I do this thing. I'm there. I think I can go much further, as you said.
Hmm.
And I'm 40. And I thought when I was a teenager, when I started this music, I set some goals.
Hmm.
And the problem, and I set pretty much high goals. And I was like, at the time, I was like, yeah, I better like to set super high goals. And if I don't reach it, I will be there.
Hmm.
And this is exactly what happened. The problem is after 10, 20 years, you always feel you're not achieving what but you don't see all the thing
Yeah,
you've done after.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, again, this COVID thing
Hmm.
this time just allow me to stop and
Think about.
looking back at what I came from, and then okay, what's next for the next years, and then having time to maybe allow me to reimagine it
Hmm.
differently, probably differently. Then the reality is really different. I would have wished I would compose like John Williams or Danny Elfman at the time, but it's still not. If you want to do film score right now in Hollywood, it's super different than what inspired me 30 years ago.
Hmm.
It's not the same gig anymore, and I realized it, and as I said, I was like, oh, I'm super interested by those guys in Germany right now. I wouldn't have expected this at all when
Hmm.
I was 15. This is the beauty of life,
It's a
all the
flow.
unexpected. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a flow. You need to learn how to swim in it. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, so it's easier to get girls if you play music, to date girls.
Not in my case. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Outlast
Yeah.
brought me. But the funny thing, I must admit that I met my wife because I was doing electronic music, and she had a band at the time and wanted to add my electronic flavor in her band. So,
Mhm.
but she was a singer at the moment, so
What happened to
it
that
was
band?
like, yeah, I would say. Maybe you can have groupie,
Ah, okay. Yeah.
but if you meet, yeah, you can meet everyone
Mhm.
everywhere. I mean, it depends. I think I have cousins. They are doctors, so they met other doctors
Mhm.
because this was their environment. Uh, I don't know if you're in the TV show business, you will chances are you
Yeah.
will meet people that are in the show business
That's true. That's true.
world too. I mean, yeah.
So on the internet, it says that your net worth is 6 million. Do you agree or disagree?
What? Disagree?
All right.
No, not at all. Shit.
So, well, thank you for coming. And last question: do you have like project in the future that you could tell us about?
Yeah, okay, TV show in Montreal. Then there was this first season of Pour toujours plus un jour
Okay.
with Pierre-Luc Funk and Catherine Brunet, produced by Pasego. It's I know it's supposed to be set for next fall. I
Hmm.
don't know with the COVID what's going on really because a lot of shooting days are off right now. I'm pretty sure things will explode when we come back because so much people. I'm an optimist,
Hmm.
so I'm a dreamer and optimist. I believe in humanity. I think people will get out of these things and just want to go to see shows and enjoy other things than being stuck at home.
Hmm.
So a lot of I'm pretty much sure that like talented people in the industry will just die to work, to
Hmm.
want to work. And um, but I don't know. I don't know. I was on a project. It's not canceled, but it's stopped right now for the COVID. I don't know actually if there will be something else after it.
All right.
Uh, yeah, future is uncertain.
Well, thank
But
you for coming.
hey, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was too. It was a pleasure too. And for those who were watching, thank you for being there. And also for those who are watching on YouTube, leave a like and subscribe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.